Hi there and welcome to the next part of the tutorial. Okay, what we're doing here is, if I can just rotate my model around, there we go, we're going to be building the tail section which goes here. Now, new feature that you might want to be playing with at this point is layers. So I'm going to select this piece here, I'm going to click up here where it says layers. I'll just bring that across so we can see it easier. Layer manager. I'm going to click on that and I want to create a new layer containing my selected objects. Okay, so my default layer, which I'm going to rename, allows me to basically select lots of individual parts if I want to, assign their properties and all this kind of thing. It's very useful. I'll just keep it as it is actually. Okay then, so what I can do is hide these so that they don't render now. And I've just got this piece on. Yet whenever I need to unhide them again to see how it fits in context, what I have to do is just click here on the eye mask and they come back. Also, for example, if I want them there but when I'm doing test renders I don't want them there, I can turn them off for rendering, or I can of course change their colour as well, which is rather useful just here. Anyway, I've shown you what's going on, so I'm just going to hide that for the time being. And over here is where we're going to start making our tail section. We've got everything in place to make it. So what I'd like to do here is this section here is the one that the tail attaches to. So I want to view it from the side on. Press F4 for a second. Now then, the actual core that it's going to be connecting to is here. You can just see it there. So I'm just going to use a quick snap to, just so that I can remember. There we go. Comes in quite handy making yourself little marker signs like that. So now I can see where it's going to fit. And come over here and zoom in. Now the tail, it's ease of animation really is what this all boils down to. If I was making a real scorpion, then I'd have to go for the real segments, and I think there's 11 segments in a scorpion, 6 of which make up the tail, the rest make up the body. Now for this I'm going to be using 3 basic segments to make the tail, with the end piece, which is a weapon, actually on the top here. So I'm not going to be using the full amount of segments that I should be using, but you know, sorry. Okay, anyway, back to work. Press F3, press F4, just so I can see the lines, and I'm going to start by making a donut. Now I'm not particularly worried about the size of the hole in the middle just yet. I can adjust that later if I want to. What I am worried about is turning off snap to settings. Okay, and I'm going to start here. This is going to be the start of our tail. Now I'm going to go over to the modify panel and I want to name it tail segment 01. And I'm going to right click on it and convert to editable spline. Okay, now selection, selecting by vertex. I'm going to close the rendering menu down and we want to do some inserting. So I'm going to zoom extents by object and just pull back a little bit over to this side. Okay, now I'm going to click the insert button, and if I just click here I can start pulling out the shape. I'm going to press Ctrl Z. There we are. Start getting us a nice shape together here. And you can adjust the shape in any way you want. It's very useful. You know, look, there's a whistle. Okay, do it again down here. I do find the bounding box very useful. There we go. Just as a guideline for what I'm up to. Okay, now I can straighten that one just using the move tool. And what we're doing here is creating a kind of mechanical segment. Okay, go back to the insert menu again. And we're just going to create some nice spikes coming off. I'm just right clicking to stop the creation. So pull one down here and pull one over here. That gives us a nice kind of, not organic, but sharp. Yeah, sharp shape. I like that. And this is what we're going to work on as our basic tail segment. So turn that off. I'm going to turn off select by vertex. And just make sure I'm zoomed in on it, in all the relevant viewports. Now, perspective. Pull back. I'm going to move this across here. And now I'm going to apply a bevel. So, modifier list, I'm going to press B, press it twice to get to the bevel, unless you've got a lot of plugins installed, in which case chances are it's not going to be there. Now then, these are some settings I've already been playing with for my model. If you're building to a different scale than I am, which is quite likely, then you will want to change these. But I find if I'm doing a kind of a modifier bevel like this, then normally I have first level and second and third level height set to half the height set on the second level, with the outline set to normally about 1/3 or thereabouts of the first level, and then negative to that on the third level. And if that made sense to you, then well done. Okay, so I'm going to take this segment here, and it's time to start moving it straight into place, because it's only once it's in place will I be able to actually start getting anywhere with the building of the model. So there we go. Let's get this nicely centralized. There we are. Okay. Now I'm only going to be creating one side of the tail, because I'm going to copy it, obviously. So now that I've got the first section in place, and I'm just checking, I think it needs a little bit of moving over here. Let's get it nicely aligned. There we go. I'm going to press F3. We'll try and get as even as possible anyway. Okay. That looks fine. So what I'm going to do now is, remember our layers tool? I'm going to click on layer and create containing selected objects. And I'm just going to hide this one. And if I right click, convert to editable polygon, we can see the size that I'm going to be working with. Sorry, we can see it in its polygonal glory, as it were. So I'm going to click back on render layers again. Sorry, layer manager again, and I'm going to click on hide for just a moment. And I think I'll turn the symmetry on now for this object. So there we go. That's excitingly messy. Okay, find the right one to just be copying on. And open up the mirror tool. Let's close this for a second. And with the mirror gizmo selected, Notice I've got it highlighted. I'm just going to pull this across. There we are. Like that. Just not collapse it, but close the symmetry modifier and pin the stack, and then show end result, and then I can open my layer manager again and hide that part. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, so what we need to do now is make the connections that are going to go from this side to this side, as you can probably imagine. So, easiest way to do this is, as you've seen before, just making a cylinder, starting a new shape using auto grid. So, auto grid, and let's reduce those height segments straight away. There we go, just bring that across to there. I'm going to press F3, right click, convert to editable polygon. And if I turn around, we're going to select the polygon on this side and click delete. Okay, go back. And I'm going to select this object here and just attach this. Now I can do some editing here using inset. The idea is we're just linking these two objects together and extrude just until they meet in the middle, and then delete. Okay, that's one. I'm going to create another one just down here. Easiest way of doing that is select by element, click and drag, and just click OK. There we go. Now then, the tail on a scorpion is actually quite wide. It's tapers to a point obviously, but it's wide like the body of a scorpion. So what I'm going to have to do is actually create a degree of wideness. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. First way being that I could use a cut tool straight down here, make us a box and just widen it out. Second way is I could use an intersection. Now I think I'm going to use the intersection, and I think I'm going to use that off a cylinder as per my plans that I've got here in front of me. So what I'm going to do is turn that off, zoom extents by object. I'm going to start by creating a cylinder in here. So I want to create a circle. I've slightly more control over it if I'm making it as a spline. Okay, there we are. Now then, I want to move that into there, and this is going to be our pivot that connects the various parts together. Okay. Now, in our perspective view, I'm going to have to bring this all the way back over here because it's off in the distance. Come on, there we go. And I want to bevel it. So, click on our bevel again, and it needs to be wide enough to bevel right the way across both of these. So, I'm going to go to my top viewport. Oops. Just Control Z there quickly. Now if we look, because of the bevel, it's going to have to be adjusted in this viewport too. Otherwise we can end up with intersecting polygons here. And yes, I know I've already got a lot of intersecting polygons, but hey, no one's perfect. Okay, so bring that down. Just over like that. Doesn't matter if they're intersecting a little bit. When they're intersecting and it's really, really heavily noticeable that it matters. Okay, now I'm going to pull this down so that it fits inside there, and then I'm going to increase this part. So it's about 105. I'll just keep upping this manually until it is exact. There we go. So now if I go into my perspective view over here and pan around it, yeah, that's looking good. Okay, so right click, convert to editable polygon, and of course, in case you've forgotten, we're using symmetry, so I'm just going to cut this down the middle using a quick slice. Notice I've got snap on. I'm just going to cut it down the centrals here. And cut it on the side off here. There we go. Now, our original side over here, typical, I cut the wrong side off. Hang on then, let's bring it back. There we go. I knew I would. Right, so now I can just go here and detach. And they're not quite properly attached at the middle there, but that can be easily fixed. So select these vertexes here and just pull them together. Okay. Now we have to make the middle bit that is going to be used for actually hinging the next section off. So it becomes a separate object in its own right. So I'm going to select these, and I'm going to do another quick slice. Got the snap tool on still. Just going to cut it straight across there. So these bits in the middle here, this kind of middle of the cylinder, is going to become the connection to the next piece. Okay, so back into our perspective viewport again, and zoom by this object. Now then, scorpions have lots of big nasty old spikes on them, and we don't want this one to be any different. So what I'm going to do is take this polygon here, and we want to make a spike. Now, the problem we've got is that a spike's more organic, and we're going to need some degree of smoothing. And as soon as we move smoothing onto this object, we start getting horrible shapes. So we're going to have to do it selectively. There we go. So what I'm going to do is select this object here, and I want to detach it. Okay, I'm going to call it temp, and it's more like a spike reel, isn't it? There we go, temporary spike. Now I'm going to select the temporary spike down here, zoom out a little. Okay, and what I want to do now is give it some shape. So just one polygon, got it selected, and I'm going to do a manual bevel. And I'll rotate it at the same time. Just beveling again. All we're doing really is making a kind of tapered hook shape. Just try and keep it a kind of even shape if I can. Okay, and finally I'm going to do a larger extrude straight out. Oop, before I do, forgot to rotate that piece. Okay, build extrude straight out, and then I'm going to collapse it. Now, with our entire object here selected, I'm going to press F. Actually, no, I'm not going to press F3. I just want to. There isn't a polygon at the back here, so I don't think I have to worry about that. What I need to make sure you see is, just press F3 a second. Actually, no, let's use the move tool. Hang on. What I need to make sure with this object is that there's no back on it there. If there is, then it's going to affect our actual smoothing. So, got our hook. I'm going to go to our NURM subdivision here, turn it on, and just put one level in. And there you go, we've got a nice smooth shape to our hook. Nice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'll just select this piece here and I'll attach that part. Okay, come back a little bit. Yes, that looks quite nice. I like that. Okay, now slightly more attachments over here, so I'm going to create another box and just build it here straight out. Put snap to on again. Silly me. Okay, just press F3, select the box, right click, convert to editable polygon. You've seen it before. I've done it a few times in this tutorial. Unless you've just opened up this section of the tutorial, maybe you really fancy making a tail of a mecha scorpion that you're creating of your own, who knows. Okay, and I want to attach that box now. So F3, and I don't even need to extrude, I can just drag till they intersect in the middle, just about there, and delete. Now the reason I built this section is because I'm going to be making use of the hose modifier later as well, and the hose modifier is going to allow us to have some nice stretchy pipes stretching between all the various sections that will actually move, expand and contract because they're dynamic objects. So what I want is, on this, the pipe on this side will go back and the pipe on this side will go forward, making a nice little chain. It's a nice effect. So I bet you can't guess how I'm going to make that shape, eh? Sure you can. I'm going to select this top polygon. Let's zoom in. Do a quick insert. Now then, I want to extrude. Not by that much though. And do a quick mesh smooth. Click grow. And delete. Go to our border. Click a border just here. And cap. Now, looking down on this, there's obviously some more optimization you could do to this model if you really felt like reducing the polygons, because I know we're getting to quite a polygon number now. So, I mean, what you could do is just use the bugger tessellate and undo that. What you could do is use target weld. Just get rid of these ones, for example, here, and then delete these lines off that you're not going to be using anymore as well. I mean, it's just a suggestion. Anyway, I want these here, and I'm going to do a bevel, just a nice manual one. Bring them up, bring them in, insert, and extrude down and in again. There we go. And that's where our pipes are going to come out of. In fact, I'll even make them something to attach to. So insert again, and extrude up just a little. There we go. And what I'll do is I'll build a couple of dummy objects there that they can attach to. Okay, so this is our first object, and being honest, it looks pretty nice. I'm quite happy. So, time to collapse it. go to our Symmetry modifier, right click, collapse all. We now have a single polygon object. And I'm going to pull that pivot just across here. There we go. I'm going to make rotating this a snap. Look. Excellent. Okay. Now, I've got this object here. I need to build, obviously, another tail segment. Now, what I could do is just clone this, but really we need to build from this. So, go to our editable polygons, and I need to take these ones and detach them. And these will become tail segment underscore segment 02. Now I'm going to select tail segment 02 and just affect the pivot, send it to the object. There we go. Remember, our job is to make our jobs as easy as possible. Interesting. I appear to have accidentally angled this down. Just going to check my layers. Yeah, I have. Typical. What I'll do is rotate it back, so I'm going to select this piece and link it to that one. Now I can just rotate this back. There we are. Right, now I can delink these again till later. Right. This part here I don't really want to be looking at, so I can open up layer 2, look at tail segment 01 and just hide that. That way I've only got tail segment 1 to worry about. Okay, with tail segment 1, I'll zoom in a bit. And let's have a look at what we're working with now. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to do this in Symmetry again. So I'm going to get rid of half of this immediately. And I'm going to take this piece here, and this is what we're going to build our next segment from. So, extrude it out. Like that. In our left viewport, I'm going to view a line, just to flatten those out a bit. And now, I want to unhide that section that I was working with. Whoops. There we are. And I'm going to zoom in on my perspective. Okay, zoom in a bit. And by vertex, I'm going to do target welding. I just want one easy to manage polygon at the end here. We know it's nice and flat and straight, so we're not going to have an issue with it. Good. Okay, so referring to my diagrams here, this piece here is just a kind of linking intermediary middle piece that links the end of the tail and also links these bits together. So it's not actually that complicated a model. So I'm going to delete these inside polygons as well. And all this has to do is extend that out a little bit further. and we're going to build a cylinder which basically just fits in there with a couple of plugs on either end. I mean, it's as I said, it's not really a very difficult piece that we're building on this one, and then it's a lot of instancing. So drop out, I'm going to go into our front viewport. What I'm going to do here, to save us having to work out the exact calculations of how big our cylinder should be and so on, I'm just going to build one in here, turn off auto grid, just get it to the right size, and then just going to manipulate it until it's exactly the right size that we want. So just adjusting the radius there. Give it a positive value for height. So back in our perspective viewport again, and we have our object over here, which is actually going to connect on over there. So give it a height. Now if you remember the heights over here, we can work out what our original height is. It's 105 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2 plus 2. So 105 plus 2 5s is 115, plus 4 2s is 8, so 115 plus 8 is 123. Oops. Forget I just did that. So we'll stick that in the height, not the radius. And I'm going to go into the top viewport just over here. And let's see if I got my calculations right. And oh my goodness me, so close. Drop it down at 120. There we are. Still a little bit over. Take it down to about 115. An amount I was certain it wasn't, and it bally well is. Look at that. 115. Gosh darn it. Okay, so I'm now proved wrong, and I have to wear the hat of shame. So convert to editable polygon. Turn on snap to. Where's my quick slice? Just moid in the middle there. Get rid of that bit. And I'm going to attach it to this section here. There we go. Now I'm going to stick symmetry on. And make sure we've got it turned on the correct axis. There we go. Right. Now if we look, there's a little bit, little he says, there's a bit of editing needs to be done just about there. So pin the stack, show the end result. Just going to move these ones across a bit. Now if you look, the problem is we're also affecting this back one here, so I've got to be careful when I do this. The easiest way of doing it is just move the element for the moment. And then we just move these two edges together. And then we can move the element straight back in again. There we go. Easy as pie. What is that, pie? Well, I think it's pie actually. Okay then, so got this nice piece here, which is just a nice straight connecting piece, which connects directly onto the next one of those. Yeah, that works for me. So next, I'm I need to create the spike that comes off the end of this as well. So yet again we're going to do it like we did the last time, but it's a smaller spike. So detach and spike. I just called it spiky. Spike. Where's that damn spike gone? There we are. This is getting rather irritating. Hang on a second, I'll just reattach it and then detach it again. There we are. So, detach. Spike. Turn that off. Select the spike, which is there. That's better. And we're going to do just like we did last time, but a bit of a smaller spike, remember, like I just said. Move that around. Another bevel. Move it around. Another bevel. And around again. And then extrude. Not too much though. About that much. A short, curved, tapered spike. And collapse. Then of course all we have to do is turn on use NURM subdivision. Ramp up the iterations to 1. Select our original object. Attach. Oop. Didn't collapse my NURM subdivision there. So I'll collapse that briefly before I do. There we go. Now I can attach this. There we go. Now, the next bit is to just create our intersection, which basically does this piece here. Oops, I attached it again. God, I'm careless this morning. I'm going to fire myself at this rate. So make sure Snap 2 is turned off. Press F3. And we just want to move this forward. Shift and drag. To there. And click OK. Now if we have a look at our model, you can see how it is starting to connect together now. Or at least I hope you can. Whoops. So what I'm going to do now is use my select tools, just zoom in a bit. There's a couple of changes I need to make to this one, otherwise we're not going to get very much movement at all from our scorpion model. So this piece here needs to be moved, because if you look, it's going to restrict the movement just a little bit. Well, quite a lot actually. I'm going to move that up to there. Now fortunately it rotates off this one. So what I do now is, I've got this object here, I'm going to collapse the symmetry. I'm going to attach this piece here. And now you can see how our connection system actually works. It's not that complicated. It's quite a cunning little system. So all I have to do now is create another one of these, which is just a shift and drag. So I'll do that in the front. Remember, our pivot points are already in the right place as well, which helps. So this next bit, copy it all the way across, and it has to sit just in here. And click OK. Now let's look at our tail segment. Drop into perspective. Excellent. I am a happy cookie. Okay, and now we're getting towards the final section, and the final segment of the tail, of course, will contain the weapon. Nice, I like that. Okay, so, same as last time, or same procedure anyway, but I'm going to select this piece here, which is our tail segment 3, select by element, and I can select this entire bit here, and I want to clone it. So, I'm just going to shift and drag it over there. Now, if I click on this part, which already should be highlighted, I can just detach it. I'm going to call this tail end, and this is where we're going to mount our weapon. Woohoo! So, I'm going to zoom in on my object, effect pivot, send it to the object. Oop, got the wrong one selected, hang on. Select this one, effect pivot, send it to object. Now, I can actually center it just by dragging. There we go. Go over here. I'm hoping that you can see what I've been doing now and understand why I've gone around about doing this the way I have. I mean, everything that I try and do, I'm doing for a reason here. So, let's move that one into the right position. There we go. Okay then, and this is, as I mentioned, our weapon platform. So, I'm gonna make a new layer. Just click on this. This is our layer 2. Sorry, layer 3. I'm gonna hide layer 2 for the moment. And let's close this down. Now, if you think about the way the tail is constructed, the weapon is going to be on the underside of this. So, this is where things are going to get kind of difficult to model. It's always a pain in the backside modeling things upside down. So, best thing to do really in this situation is just flip the z-axis. Like that. Now it's upside down. Just remember, flip it back again when you're finished. So, click OK. Now, depending on your weapon design, is your weapon going to be symmetrical? If it's symmetrical, we're doing the same thing as last time. If it isn't, then obviously slight change in plan. Now what helps obviously is having a reference model, perhaps if you've already got some model kits, things like that. I mean, there's plenty of places you can get references for actual weapons. But having a reference model, even if it's one off an old Airfix, World War II model, they all help. So the one I've gone for is a kind of convoluted machine gun kind of design. It's quite simple to make. So I'm just going to use the whole of this. Select these two bits here, inset, and this is a very freehand design. Move that in. Do a cut straight from there to that. Good. And just use that piece. Start by extruding it up. Then a little bevel. I mean, just follow along on what I'm doing by all means. If it's not a weapon that you like, then you don't have to build this one, Okay, and up to about there. Go around the back. I'm going to do an inset, up. Oops. And hinge from edge. Pick hinge. That one. 90 degrees. And 5 segments. Click OK. That's going to be our hopper. Going to inset it again. And hinge from edge, pick hinge, that one again. Angle -90. Okay, that way our hopper goes in. Now then, sometimes it can be quite tricky actually getting at your polygons when you want to do something. So, here we are. Just select these ones. Add some beveling on them, and then these ones here. Oops, deselect the rest. There we go. Just take them in a tiny bit and make sure they're not intersecting. There we go. Okay, now look at my plan again. Make sure I've got it going the way I want it to. Select these, simple inset, quick scale on the x-axis here, move along to here, and extrude it in, and there's two things I'm going to build here. Nice small belt feed mechanism. So, I think I'm going to drop back out of this again and start using Symmetry, because it's going to make things a hell of a lot easier. And if you look, we've got slight warping already on this that I'm going to need to correct. So, Polygon time. Abracavanish. There we go. Now I'm going to put on the Symmetry, to turn on the Symmetry modifier here. There we go, and of course turn it on the correct axis. Can I just open this out a little bit? Oops. There we go. Yep, that looks fine. So, Symmetry's turned on, and I'm going to move in on this model and start doing some repairs manually. It's good to learn the skill of repairing your model when you've messed it up. So, pin stack, show end result. I'm going to do some vertexes here. So all we're doing really is just sewing our model together. Don't be tempted to use a cap. You can border it, and you could click cap, and then you would sit crying like a girl for the next X how long, when you realise a couple of steps down the road, once you're well past using your undo modifier, that you have in fact ballsed up your entire model, and you're going to have to redo the tail again from the last time you saved. There we go. Bring these two together. Not much left to repair now. Most of these are the same distance apart anyway. There we are. And if you enjoy this video, you can of course buy some more from my series, including Watching Paint Dry and Waiting for the Kettle to Boil, volumes 1 to 6. Okay, just check under here. Actually, nope, that's fine. Okay, we can now move out and continue working on our lovely model. So, this side, and this is where our belt feed is going to be. So I'm going to start by creating some cylinders using auto grid, and just drag them all the way through until they bisect there. Check them and click and drag. One more. Okay, and then I can just attach these to this, and of course they'll attach on the other side as well. There we are. Now, belt feed system time. A couple of ways to make an easy belt feed system. I'm going to have it in dual, come in on both sides, and a bullet output slot. I'm not, repeat, not going to be making a dynamic system or a bullet ejection system using particles today, because quite frankly there's more than enough tutorials on 3D Palace if you want to learn how to do that yourself anyway. Okay, just move this one down and this one up. There we are. Hey. So, drop back into perspective, and we now have our box. And what we're going to do with this, of course, is select it and tessellate it, and now we have 4 polygons. Top 2 polygons are going to be the feed, bottom 2 polygons are going to be the ejector. So, zoom out, and we need to give, well, not give, create a polygon that we can use as a reference for the actual hinge from edge that we're going to use to make the cartridge. So, bring this down just to there, and click OK. There we are. Now then, these two here, I'm going to zoom in on them. Now I want to do a little bit of editing to these before I actually bring them out. So I'm just going to tessellate like that, and I'd like to do a cut just from about here. It's not going to let me really, is it? I might have to do a subtessellate. This is one of the few times when using tessellate it's actually useful, so tessellate here as well. There we go. I've actually got a shape I can use now. What I'm going to do is select here this eye shape, and zoom out, and I'm going to do a hinge from edge, pick my hinge, and it's going to be this one. And now you can see how our belt feed works. 5 segments ain't going to be enough. There we go, 15 segments. Click OK. Quick look under here, the minor bevel. There we go. And that is one loading mechanism. So now for the ejection system. Now, way too many polygons are there, so settings, pick hinge, that one, reduce the segments. Okay, and now we're going to inset it. Hinge from edge, pick the hinge again, same one as last time. Except this time we're going to bring it right in to there, and then extrude it back. Now let's have a look and see how we're doing. Yay! We are happy. Okay, time to make the gun barrels. Gun barrels itself, snap, you know, real snap as well. I'm going to make a cylinder. Make sure it's only got one height segment. Auto grid. Just going to build it here. We want to build another one just underneath it. That. And we're going to attach it to our main model. There we go. So, now I'm just going to bring these out, like so. Zoom back a little bit. Nice. Okay. Next, I'm going to go into our side viewport. So I'm turning zoom extents off and just zooming by object. Go up here, and I want to use a quick slice. So I'll turn this off. Reason being, I'm making exciting shapes now. So take that all the way across to there. And now, what I intend to do is just trim these off. Nip back in my perspective viewport again. And we're going to use a border. So, border. As you see, they're already selected, so I'm just going to click cap. Now, what I'm going to do here is extrude in on these. Oops, that's an extrude. I mean insert. Sorry. Insert in, and then I want to extrude. Oops, just by a tiny amount. 0.001 again, and click OK. Now, left viewport here, which is actually the front of these, just click View Align, back into perspective, and see if you can see what magic's going on here. You now see that our guns actually, ooh look, ain't that clever. Okay, so there's our barrels, and I'm going to zoom in on the ends. Now I can use a bevel, so I want to get a nice kind of cannon-like edge to it. Bring these in. Nice high caliber ones, these. And then extrude the ends in. Loads. Okay. And just check that out. Now, on the top here, because that's our top polygon, just there, I think. I'll just check that. Yes, it is. Okay. So for our top polygon here, I'll just do a quick, simple extrude, just like that. Select by line, and pull that back. There we go. It's got an interesting shape there as well, to the ends of the gun. And then we're left with these two down here. Which aren't actually guns. They're just a part of the overall mechanism, I shall assume, from my designs. So, I'll extrude those out, get to the end of the polygons here, do a quick bevel. Another extrude. And back. And then wider extrude. Bevel. And out. Like that. I'm going to select the top one here. I want to extrude it up into here. And then just insert this down, bevel it in, and bevel it out. F4 so we can see it better. You can see how our tail weapon's coming along now. So this piece here, let's give it a bit of character by extruding it a little. Tiny bevel. There we go. Check that. No, I don't like that very much actually. Okay. I'm going to create a box again using auto grid. Let's put it down here. All we're doing, remember, is just defining shapes that are mainly going to be used to catch shadows. There we go. Scoot round, and that looks suspiciously like a bad cap over there. Bet it is as well. I'll have to fix that in post. So, zoom in. Press F4 so I can see what's going on exactly. I thought as much. It's a bad cap. Never mind. We can come back and fix that soon. There's a couple of ways of fixing that. Now, zoom out. God, there's been some terrible capping going on here. In fact, I think I'm just going to have to do a manual repair. So first things first, I'll just delete these off. It was when I capped the end of that gun, by the way, if you're wondering. So I'm going to delete this vertex here, and that's going to make a sodding great big hole in my model. Just there. And now I'm going to go to Polygon, Create. I'm just moving in a square direction. I need to create a polygon across here. That's one. Now from here to here. And then finally from here to here. And we'll just check the rest of the model while I'm here. Good. It's now unballsed up. Pardon me. And for all of those who have just gone deaf, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Have a quick look at the top here. I think our mirror axis is okay, but I still think I should move that one just a tiny bit. And on the top here, I'm just going to use a cut. There and there. And we're going to bevel this. Go around this side. Get rid of this one. Move the line so that it's together. There we are. Okay. Now, as I said, it's going to be upside down until it's actually in position. Because if you think about it, the tail loops over, doesn't it? Loops over like that. But we don't need to put any detail actually down here. Although we do need, if you remember, a place to put the plug. So I'm going to turn it upside down again. There we go. And just select this piece, move in on it. We'll do an inset. Move the x-axis in to make a nice square. Move it down here. Now I only need to make one plug here, so right click, simple way of collapsing the stack there. Then select just one polygon. I'm going to extrude it by a small amount and click OK. Now a quick mesh smooth, grow. I'm not going to risk doing another cap again because I don't want to have to sit and repair my model for hours on end, so I'll just make a simple plug like that. Whoa, 3D Studio Max is going loopy juice. Hell, I'll just delete it anyway and just make a polygon. So, I'm going to build a big polygon to go across this gap here. So I'm going to click Create. And just go around it in a clockwise direction. There we go. That should make things a tad easier for us. Bevel it up, bevel it in, do an inset, extrude it down. There we go, one area for the plug to go. And I think what I'm going to do is, because I'm a horrible cheat, just select these bits and click Mesh Smooth. There we are. Finally, I'm going to attach a smooth modifier to it. And click Auto Smooth. And it'll just get rid of some of the jaggies and then just convert it back. Okay, so if we go up here now to our layer manager, if we unhide everything, you'll now see that we have a tail for our scorpion. And the thing is that depending on how complicated you want it, you can add as many segments in between as you like. I mean, the tail should actually, on a real scorpion, be a bit longer than this, but, you know, tough. So, I'll hide this one off again. And, there we go, put it back there. Just so that you can see where we're up to. By the way, it rotates quick if you turn off F4. And you can see what we've created there, which is our tail, with our small weapons array at the end here. So, I hope you've enjoyed this part of the tutorial. It's been good fun to make as well. What I'm going to do, in the meantime, is just add another couple of segments in between that. You know what I mean, I'm just sticking another couple of basically chain links in. And I'll see you in the next part of the tutorial. So, thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.